Welcome in to the latest episode of the Need for Seeds College Basketball Podcast presented by the Pregame.com Podcast Network. If you're watching us live, you might
For my
see
shirt.
that we have t-shirts and merch that I'm now talking through above my head. But unfortunately, only one of us decided to wear them today. And I'm joined by at Big East Ben. We are 15-9, 62.5% so far this season on our best bets. I'm 8-4, one game ahead of Big East Ben, 7-5. You might be getting a peep show as Big East Ben goes into his closet to find a way to put on his shirt backwards. Just kidding. It's not on backwards. And now he's repping it because we have a uniform now. Thank you to all who are subscribed on pregame.com, plus to our own Twitter feeds at Big East Ben and at the real _ G Warner. We're going to go through 5 games on this college basketball card for January 25th. And we will get you some best bets end of show. We recorded our first episode of the midweek on Tuesday this week. We have another episode scheduled for Tuesday of next. And then we'll be recording Mondays for all of the midweek action, the top of our calendar, top of our list. And then, of course, stick with you on Fridays the rest of the season, all the way through the NCAA tournament, hopefully adding some extra episodes. We can see Big East Ben go a perfect 11-0 on 11 episodes in the NCAA tournament like he did last year. Big East Ben, how are you feeling today?
Feeling good. Hit my best bet on Tuesday, the Kansas TCU under, which I thought was dead when TCU erupted for 12 points in about 3 minutes span in the first half. Kansas eventually got the lead outside of fouling in the second half to 10 or 11, and that's what saved us. So very fortunate for that. Kansas unders continue to dominate.
And we will see if we can cover another one on this episode, as we will start in the Big 12 with Houston visiting Kansas. And we are recording this on Friday afternoon, at least before I've seen any numbers. So what I'm planning to use today is
We don't have a number yet?
I can look it up is if you're telling me they're out. But I had not seen any until we were on here. But Torvik was projecting Houston a 5-point favorite at Kansas. I'm not sure we've seen Kansas a 5-point underdog in its history at in Allen Fog, the Fog at the Allen Fieldhouse. Let's see. Do we have anything available on the normal site that I use, which I don't
I
see?
got I got Kansas. I got Kansas plus 1.5 over under 129.
There we go. Lead us in.
Houston has not been great away from the friendly confines of what's the family that owns the Vegas casinos?
Jobs. The Fertitta Center.
No, Fertitta. Yeah, Fertitta. Shout out to my former NBA roommate, Serge Braccio, who once went to a Fertitta wedding and they spent over $1 million on just the flowers. And Bruno Mars performed, and I think John Mayer was the opener. Houston,
Wild,
not great on the road
wild
this
considering
season.
how everyone hates him for being the cheapest owner in the NBA.
Hey, no, there's no expense too large to spend on your daughter's
No
wedding.
expense spared on giving your daughter away and giving her flowers along with her flower to another man.
Also, some exciting news. This weekend is my 1 year anniversary. I know you all don't care about that, but what you would care about is I got extremely hot last year. Actually got married. I turned the whole entire season around. I know I haven't been great this year, but trust
I
me,
mean, you don't need to
the
complain. Over 500, only one game behind yours truly. I'm hitting
I
67%.
know, but other
Hard
stuff
to match
I do.
that.
I give out picks. I give out picks outside this podcast, and they haven't been doing great. So just so you know, we coming.
We
To
coming.
quote,
Especially after
yeah.
talking weddings and anniversaries. Plus, at Big East Ben on last year's Need for Seeds College Basketball podcast, decided to tell everyone that he was finally monogamous,
Yeah.
celebrating his wedding. So
Yeah.
that's what it takes, as long as you're not out there playing the field, literally and figuratively, then all of a sudden the winners start to flow. We coming.
So So Houston not great on the road this season offensively. They dropped from offensive efficiency from third to 84th in the country. 3-point shooting goes from 43% to 30%. Defense still stays consistent. There's no drop off in defense. at the Frittata Center versus away from the Frittata Center. Kansas
Fertitta.
does
Fertitta. Frittata is like a brunch item.
whatever. I'm going to keep pronouncing it the way I first pronounced it. Kansas leans on their defense more away from the Fog this season. And their offense does improve a lot at home. They go from 174th in the country to 27th. I think that is a bit of a misnomer, though. I mean, the toughest team they've played on the defensive end at home is North Carolina, which was ages ago, and I don't think that defense is anything to write home about. I said it 72 hours ago. Kansas unders now 15-2 on the season. I'm going to keep backing Kansas unders until the day I die. I'm going under 129.
Under 129. Good for you at Big East, Ben. You said Kansas plus 1.5 is the number you have available. What site are you using?
This is that the lines are early, so you can either get Houston plus 1.5 or Kansas plus 1.5. Kansas plus 1.5. Let's use one, okay? Kansas -1. That's the DraftKings lineup -110.
Okay, I was gonna say it. I would love to find a book that's dealing plus 1.5 on both sides, so I can play both of those and just hope for a 1 point win either way, and just do that until I die. I'll take Kansas 1 point favorite at home. Not really in love with KU, but honestly, we saw this similar. I think we had a similar discussion about Houston at Kansas last season, and I think that was a watershed moment that Kansas really decided to annihilate a really good Houston team. I'm not sure we've seen Houston that great so far this year, but honestly, they're such a big favorite in most of their games that I haven't really tuned into them too often. But I do think the Fog, I've went there last year for the last Texas Kansas in conference battle. Don't see KU joining the SEC anytime soon, so I think that was a good choice. Though Texas got kind of blown out, unfortunately. But I think there's a good chance that happens again to Houston here. I'm sure they'll be upset about it, and there's a lot of Houston returnees. Plus, Kelvin Sampson is never seemingly that excited to lose and loves to get redemption. But you could take Big East Ben's under, and I'll grab Kansas as a 1 point favorite in, I guess, in a number that could be potentially all over the place. But that's what we're preparing you for. Certainly would love KU more as a dog. But I'll play them as a small favorite as well at home. We'll move next to Tennessee and Auburn. Really wild that Torvik has Auburn a 10 point favorite in this matchup. I'm currently looking at 6.5 on DraftKings with the total at 141.5. Big East Ben.
Janai Broom, according to Twitter, I think it was Goodman or Rothstein, game time decision for this one. I think he's going to play. I think Pearl's just playing mind games with us at this point. He was a game time decision for the Purdue game and played. So I think Janai Broom is going to be in there.
How many
Even
games
if
did Nye Broom miss before the Purdue game?
he didn't miss anything. He just twisted his ankle again, or it was a shoulder. It was
I
a
think I
shoulder
thought it was a shoulder,
early. Yeah, early
but
in the season.
he's now missed 3 games here, I think. So like that's a little bit different to me, but I don't
Well,
disagree.
two full games. Mississippi State, who they blew out at home, and then Georgia, who they should have covered against.
A best bet
Hey,
winner for the
hey,
weekend.
Griffin, how about me picking a good week to stop betting, making Georgia as my best bet? Did you see the Arkansas cover?
I did not, but it
Did
is
you
on.
bet that game?
No, I did not, but it is on my list of things to watch because I do like Arkansas this weekend.
So I don't watch it, but I check my phone and I see Arkansas won by 3. And I'm like, oh wow, they covered. Okay, cool. They were down big. And then they had I saw a Field of 68 post the ending of it. And I forget who it was. It was DJ Wagner. Uh, they are tied, and he drives to the lane, gets fouled, and with 1.8 seconds on the clock, I'm like, how the hell did they get 3 points out of this? Did he miss one and then they like tip it back out? And then he makes the first. So now I'm like really perplexed. I'm like, because there's no one on the foul line. And so I'm like, did I read the score wrong? Georgia, and this is the thing with Georgia, they're a dummy team. They're athletic, they're dummy. Bricks the second free throw. No one box out. He gets his own rebound. Has no reason to shoot it. No reason to shoot it. There's 1.8 seconds left on the clock. Puts it up Arkansas covers at 2.5 points, which I think me and you both gave out on the midweek episode. So one of the most, probably the most incredible cover of the season.
Well, and especially interesting because Arkansas had dropped all the way to pick 'em, I think, with the Boogie Fland injury news
Yeah.
before tip off. But yes, good for the pod, good for our overall record. Though I think we're really just focused on our best bets. Yeah, I think I have definitely said that I don't really trust Georgia, and I feel like their dummy team, as you might call it, reflects their head coach Mike White, who's gotten his job through a lot of luck and a lot of his dad's connections, I think.
Yep. Absolutely. Nepo baby. Tennessee has not been great on the road this season. 0-3, or at least in the Big 12, 0-3 against the spread
SEC.
on the SEC in SEC play. They did beat the Illini on the road, but that was when the Illini like couldn't buy a three in that game.
Yeah, thank you for the memories. Appreciate
Yeah.
that one, Illini.
Yeah.
That was a nice little loss by half of a point. I've had a lot of those this year. Keep going.
Tennessee does have the number one 3-point defense in the country, but again, Todd Bedford, you could be going against. So Todd Bedford could be going against the number one 3-point defense in the NBA for God's sakes, and could still hit shots. He is incredible. Miles Kelly, they just have so many shooters. Miles Kelly, Denver Jones. I don't think that's going to work at the jungle, where avalanches come and kill shots come again and again and again. I'm going to take the Tigers here.
All right, so
Also, like, I think Tennessee is starting to show their true colors in what I expected them coming. I didn't expect much of them coming in, and then they beat Louisville on the road. They
woo.
they had the Illinois game, but there's starting to be friction with Rick Barnes and Chaz Lanier. You know, what was his quote? It was, if you're not going to do what we're paying you to do, you're going to sit on the bench."
Shoot.
And
Yeah.
and I still don't think the front court is that talented. Ziegler's a great defender, but I still think he's limited on the offensive end. So I do think Tennessee is starting their downward trajectory from an overbought start.
Hmm. I think the Janai Broom injury news is pretty significant to this number, to this whole thing. I think we would expect him to play for this one because this looks like a game that I think Janai Broom was penciled in to return for. Of course, we will see if that ends up happening. And I got to say, my pick on this game probably depends on if Janai Broom's in there because I imagine this number will climb significantly. To your point, Auburn's been great at home. They usually kill teams in the jungle. Tennessee has certainly looked a lot weaker away. And for all those reasons, I think I'd rather probably end up on the underside of things, that Tennessee potentially plays defense with a potential also for a blowout. That might mean that we don't see the late fouls, which seems to matter from time to time. I'm not necessarily sure where to go with this one besides that, but I think this is a big, big opportunity for Tennessee to show maybe a little bit that they're better than I think they've been showing lately. And you don't have to explain to me about how Rick Barnes things that potentially fall off or tend to go or move a little bit sour or something like that throughout a season. I'm kind of struggling for more numbers from DraftKings, so we might have to go off of the analytics profiles after this one. We'll go to Kentucky,
141 and a half.
141
You're
and a half.
going under?
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm going under, but I'm looking more for the next game on our list, which I don't have listed on DraftKings currently. So Kentucky, they're visiting Vanderbilt, and what Torvik has for this one is Kentucky 1 point favorite at Vanderbilt. What do you got at this one?
So this book, right now you can get Kentucky minus 3.5 on FanDuel at minus 106.
Hmm. Okay. Kentucky minus 3.5 at Vanderbilt. Total is
163.
163. What do you got, Big?
163, which is actually lower than I expected with these two offenses. Extremely fast-paced teams. Vandy has played well at home, knocked off Tennessee, but like if you like isolate what's fresh in my mind is the Tennessee win. Like there's no shame in going to Tuscaloosa and getting blown out, but they looked really bad at home versus Mississippi State. Mississippi State was just a way more physical team, pushed around the smaller Vanderbilt. Good news, you don't really have to worry about that with Kentucky. And they also lost on the road to Missouri. Missouri, another
Whoa, but
kind of,
Kentucky's so big. What are you talking about? They spread the floor with five shooters and they're all gigantic.
they're not physical though. They're not like, I wouldn't be scared about meeting Andrew Carr trying to mug me in a dark alley.
Hmm.
Um,
Chad Baker Mazara, though.
Amari Williams, another, yeah, Chet Baker, bizarre. Yeah, he could just hook my wallet out of my pocket with that beak of his. Um,
Sorry to the CMB family. I guess that's the last time you are going to listen to us for the rest of the year, unless you like big noses.
um, I'm gonna go. Vanderbilt shoots his ball from three really well at home.
Hold on, you're just about to get into some absolutely brainiac technology things about Vanderbilt, and you're not really sold on them or something like that, and then you change subjects.
No, I mean they're 1-4 against the spread in their last five games. So like they haven't been. I'm just saying people probably have the perception that they've been playing really well because of the win over Tennessee, which is a great win, which is a win me and you should have seen 6 years ago. But Grant Williams went 25 of 25 from the foul line.
Hmm.
Uh, um,
Yeah, and as Rick Barnes said leading into the game, how you doing tonight, Rick? Just another fucking day. Excuse my French.
Wait, what's that story? You said that to
So
him?
someone said it and I heard him walking by. Someone said, "Hey Rick, how's it going?" He's like, "Just another fucking day," and then kept walking across the court. And I was like, "That's why everyone hates this prick."
Um, I'm gonna back Kentucky here. If this was like 6.5, 6, I might bet back Vanderbilt, but I still think this Kentucky team is way too talented. They haven't been great on the road, I know, but I just think that is a deviate. They did beat Mississippi State. The Georgia loss is bad at home. The Clemson loss on the road was not great. I just think Vanderbilt had their Super Bowl a couple, last week with a win over Tennessee. I still think there is a letdown factory. I'm still happy with my Kentucky future. I still have a lot of confidence in my 40-1 Kentucky future. And to be a legitimate national champion or a national champion prospect, you have to go to Nashville and win. I'm going to back Kentucky here.
Well, I have no dog in that fight. I would like you to win, but of course, I don't have anything clouding my judgment here. I will say that Kentucky is likely to have a lot of that crowd. As I went
Yep.
to Kentucky Vanderbilt game when we were in business school in Nashville, it was a little bit different though. I want to say Vanderbilt. What it wasn't their like one in their winless SEC season. I think it was the first of our 2 years, and I thought they were much better and like actually had some fans that were had some interest in going. Vanderbilt in the past, I mean, it's a weird gym, the layout with the benches on the sidelines, and just really that's just where it begins as a weird gym. So I think those things might throw off a Kentucky team that hasn't played together much. Also, with the 3 point reliance, I think that's something that I'd like to be against with Kentucky. I'm a little concerned, as I've already mentioned, how Lamont Butler would potentially quiet Mark Sears last week against Alabama. I thought he did fairly well, but the rest of Alabama seemed to play pretty well. And it really just seemed to me one run in the second half was enough for Alabama to separate and win that game. But I think there's some questions for me with Jason Edwards and his probably 5'10" type of body against a Lamont Butler. But I think there's more questions for me about Kentucky's style of play away from home. So I'll go Vanderbilt, especially if it's 3.5 point underdogs. I don't know that's a number we're going to see, but I guess if it's a live line and you can bet it, then that's what we're going to use as we're recording before the openers on Friday, January 24th. We'll move next to UConn at Xavier. Again, if you could help me out with a number here, that would be great. But the projection systems had Xavier as a 1 point favorite, and that matches my number, so I feel pretty confident in that. You got something there?
1 point favorite.
And total?
Total 145.
Total 145 with Xavier a 1 point favorite to UConn, UConn.
Eventful week for Dan Hurley. I'm sure you've seen the quote. I think it was to James Breeding in the Butler game.
And
Don't turn. What's up?
a famous official, James Breeding.
Yes. great official in that Marquette Seton Hall game back in 2018 in the Big East tournament. Threw out everybody except the guy who started the whole fight.
If I recall, that might have been a Cheese Powell,
That's Cheese Pal moment.
who actually
Um,
thought he got ejected and then came back on the floor.
yeah, I did, crying like a baby. Um, Dan Hurley, Tuesday night against Butler, James Breeding, quote, "Don't turn your back on me. I'm the best coach in this whole fucking sport."
Hell yeah, brother.
Griffin, would you believe that wasn't the most outrageous thing he said all night?
What else did he say, Big East Ben? Because
So
I know
I
you
didn't
were
even,
on the John Fanta little Twitter Spaces or something like that, and really just got the real inside take. Though I don't
so,
know, Fanta's probably doing women's basketball, not those games.
yeah, and Fanta's so up Hurley's ass. Like, is what, like, St. John's or fans are calling, like, how can you keep defending these guys? Like, what are you talking about? It's good for college basketball, blah, blah, blah. Like,
Want to get a picture? You want one too?
so I found this quote just recently because I was searching to see if there was any Liam McNeely news. But this is Hurley after the post-game press conference. Even with Liam out, we could easily be undefeated in the league if things broke differently for us.
Mm.
So UConn is right now 6-2. In those wins is a overtime win at home versus Xavier with McNeely. In those wins is a win at Providence where Providence was winning the entire freaking game. And in those wins is the game on Tuesday where you went to overtime against an 8-10 Butler team.
That was once called dead by one of the members of this podcast.
Yeah, still got a lot of fight. Never mind, one of your two losses was against Creighton, also at home, where Creighton was winning the entire freaking game. Like, give me a break. We could be undefeated, dude. You could easily be 4-5 in the conference and on below Xavier in the standings. Like, this guy is so freaking delusional. It blows my mind. That comment is
Hold on. Dan. Hi, Dan. How's it going? Would you like to talk to Big East Ben? I'm not delusional. You're delusional.
I'm the best coach in the fucking sport.
Don't turn
Um,
your back on me.
so I'm backing X here. UConn has not looked the same without McNeely. Just 1-4 against the spread. Xavier's got some momentum. They beat Marquette. They should have beat St. John's. Blew a 16-point lead in the second half. Went to overtime. I had the under in that game.
You know
Ended
it's not
regulation.
good for unders.
Ended regulation 19 points under the total. Total hit with 17 seconds left on a meaningless RJ Lewis three throw up 6. And then he made both, so all the Xavier plus 7.5 betters lost as well. Brutal game. But I'm back.
You know what's an endangered species in overtime? Not only the underdog, but definitely the under. Keep going.
So I'm gonna back X here. I think they're getting these are two teams going in opposite directions. X is at home. That place is gonna be wild for the defending national champs. Throw up the X. Musketeers, baby.
Yeah, I'll join you on Xavier. I think there's less concern about offensive rebounding issues like we saw with their home game to St. John's the first time they played. Maybe that sets us up for a potential. It's really hard to beat a team 3 times in college basketball in the Big East tournament coming up. But I'll join you on Xavier's short home favorite, and we'll move to the last game on our list. It's another game from the Big East, perfect for at Big East Ben. No Mountain West representation for Mountain West Ben to potentially get unchained from his under the staircase resting place. Though I got to say, Colorado State almost made me want to chain him up again. Um, Georgetown are on the road at Providence. Looks like Providence a very slight favorite here, similar to a Xavier range of 1 point favorite. What do you got on your little betting device in the legal state of Colorado?
Providence minus 1.5.
There we go. Providence minus 1.5. Total is
136.5.
136.5. 1.5, 136.5. Providence hosting Georgetown. A return to the old stomping grounds. Maybe Ed Cooley will be blowing kisses to the crowd to his many alleged. I want to make sure I put that out. Many alleged uh,
Mr. Sis.
side pieces. Yeah, Mr.
Yeah. I'm backing Providence here. Two teams that Georgetown has fallen off. They played a very easy non-conference strength of schedule, built up their record. They should be on a six-game losing streak. That was a miracle. They came back to Nova. I like Providence to cover this number easily behind a raucous and uh, angry fan base filled with a lot of alcohol and a lot of vitriol.
Alcohol and vitriol. That's another way to describe. That's actually one of our reviews on Apple Podcasts and on Spotify for betting the pitch. I mean, the Need for Seeds College Basketball Edition. I also remember a an episode last year where we had double best bet from the corner of our recording on Providence. I think hosting Georgetown last year, the return of Ed Cooley. Um, and I want to say it was a close game, and Georgetown ended up hanging around for most of it. But I think Providence were 11.5 point favorites. So quite a decline here to only 1.5. The Providence injury bug has bitten, and certainly there's a lot of questions about Kim English, especially against the rest. But I'll join you on Providence 1.5 point favorites. And let's get to our best bets portion of the show. We do have promo code to use layup20, LAYUP20, good for $20 off any listeners of this college basketball podcast, good for 7 days of the podcast release. So make sure you throw it in there and save some money. Before we get into our best bets, I just want to tell you our record so far this season. Thank you again to one of my Patreon subscribers for keeping this up. We are 15-9, 62.5% so far this season, plus 5.1 units if you're going with the flat betting strategy. I am 8-4. Big East Ben is 7-5, and let's try to add two more winners to this list.
Xavier, easy.
And we're gonna double best bet it because
Yeah.
we both like Xavier. We both question the best fucking coach in the world. Excuse my French, but I guess if we're quoting it, it's probably allowed. Don't turn your back on me. We'll both go Xavier 1 point favorites at home for this Saturday, January 25th episode. We will see you recording Tuesday night. Wish at Big East Ben a nice first year of monogamy or mahogany or whatever he wants to call it. And we'll see you on Tuesday night for what will likely be a Wednesday card. Then we'll be back with you, of course, Friday next week. So make sure you put us on your list. Make sure you listen before we get a little bit deeper in the season. And we'll be with you the rest of the year on the Betting the Pitch, on the Need for Seeds College Basketball podcast presented by pregame.com podcast network.